Hello my darlings, welcome back. We've got a slightly interesting or different project this time. Have just recently started a counted cross stitch. So this is of a Victorian scene ornament set by the Dimensions company. So this is counted, so I've got my center is right about there. So I'm counting out from it to do all the, easy there chart, all the colors. Where am I on this chart? Up here. No, I am not. Yes, I'm on the, okay. I'm going pretty much straight across, okay. So if you'll recall a video from a week ago or a few weeks ago, I don't remember exactly when it was published, but I was still working on the bookmarks then. And the bookmarks are also on Ada, but they are on a 11 count Ada. This is 18 count. So you see the holes are much smaller, thus the stitches are much smaller. Or sorry, the holes are more dense rather. So the stitches are much smaller. I'm also using a much thinner gauge of needle. So right now I am working my way up the design, and then I'll come back down, and then I'll go down for the bottom. This is not a solid block, but it's connected enough that I should just double check here and make sure I'm not lying. Yes, I should be able to do pretty much all of this color in one shot. I will not be done with the color, however, because it does show up again in the last one. It is quite a stark difference, though, going from a much larger, or rather smaller count Ada to a larger count Ada. The number refers to how many stitches across you have in a square inch. I guess in just an inch, because square inch would imply that you're taking into account the horizontal and vertical measurement, and in this case we're not, so. Probably one of the biggest differences between doing the different counts of Adas actually has to do with the wearing on the thread. So doing the 11 count, I was working with 2 threads that were doubled over, so 4 threads, and you could pretty much go with those as long as you wanted to. With this one, even if I wanted to do 2 full-length threads instead of 1 thread folded over, by the time I'd be getting halfway or just past halfway of that thread, I would need to cut it and change anyway, because the friction of going through the holes would eventually wear on the fiber of the thread. To actually adjust this a little bit, because it's gotten slightly loose. It's been sitting over there for a little bit. I've been focusing other projects. So. There. Do I have any of this on the active board? No, I do not. Okay. You are, what color are you? Salmon pink. 132, 41. 132, 41. They're all tangled up. Oh no. What are you doing? There we go. Okay. 132, 41. but I only need a single strand of this because I will double it over. So catch one, and just pull it back. The thing, give it an extra pull to snap, get it out of the holder. It's a very good way, that method of having the threads be mostly separated and clearly delineated about which color they are, but you can't put them back, and if you accidentally take more off than you need, you have to have somewhere else to store them. That is where that purple thing does come in handy. So this set was actually a Christmas present to me a few years ago, and I have been working on it very slowly, off and on, kind of ever since. It is very dense stitching. There's a lot of changing of colors and combinations of colors and details and all sorts of French knots and back stitching, which French knots and back stitching always seems to take longer than I anticipate that it will. Took that out too far. I have to remember this is a much shorter piece of thread. Gone through the previous thread. I don't actually want to do that. Are you free and loose? Can't get this to be a little bit more tighter. The entire purpose of the hoop is to hold even pressure on the fabric and keep the weave open. So if it is collapsing in on itself, it's not working very well. I think I may need to add like I'm not sure what I would need to add. I like the shape that these kind of rounded rectangle things give me, but I will say that the round ones are a lot easier to get the fabric taut in. So I'm going to 2 before that. I should have 4 in between. When you're doing a counted cross stitch on this scale, double checking your counts frequently is very handy because mistakes can be a lot more obvious depending on where it is, as opposed to a much larger piece. You can kind of fake it a little bit if you do misplace a stitch. Alright, going up 2, up 1, then 1 over. I would not hold my breath on this actually looking like a house within the course of this particular session. But it will be quite spectacular when it is done. If I was doing this as something where it was going to be, where the back would be visible, like with the bookmarks, then I would take a bit more care in making sure that I'm covering over my stitches for all the different colors. And then for something that is as dense and continuous as this would be a good one to cover over other stitches. But this is going to be an ornament that is actually stuffed and has kind of a quilted little back. So I feel no obligation to make the back super neat. As long as the threads are secure, that is all I'm asking for. I'll be doing 4 of these again. I would, if doing this without recording, actually just have the chart sitting in my lap, but as I make it a point to, whenever possible, not show charts or patterns that I'm working on, it's not really an option. Though I suppose in some ways, if you were determined enough to try to glean a pattern just off of watching a video with no explicit instructions, then you probably weren't someone that was going to buy the pattern anyway. But still. Here. I think I'm going to have to go and inform my older child that it is time to go to sleep. He has school in the morning. We're almost done this video and then I can go do that. Get him all tucked in. And then looking on the other one and see if he's actually fallen asleep in his bed or not. Last night, we found him sleeping on the floor with his legs stuffed underneath the armchair that is in his room. So we had to move the chair and pick him up and put him back in the bed. I do believe that there was a phase of the older one where he liked to, oops, that's not quite in the hole, where he liked to also sleep on the floor, so it must just be a kid thing. I have vague memories of doing it, but by the time I have active memory, I don't remember doing that. Okay. So this one is kitty corner. So I need to do it up here. And fasten. It should be 2 up, 2 over. Yes, good. Always double check your ratios when you're doing small counted cross stitch. Or really any counted cross stitch, for that matter. It's just a little more obvious with this one because you have to lean over there to see it. It's quite a small chart. And I guess these things are just magnetic silicone zip ties, or not zip ties, twist ties. But they work decently well for controlling most of the fabric. Two over and then I'll do one up. Considering how much that dog out there, excuse me, is barking, it's probably a good thing I did not let my Sheltie go outside. Because he would feel the need to bark back. So would the Papillon for that matter. But the Papillon, or the Sheltie is louder. 2 more over and then 2 up. start to see the windowsill and window there. And that's probably good for here. Let's round to this side. There. See you next time.